Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Tonight, New York health officials are calling on Governor Hochul to relax the vaccine mandate for healthcare workers. Currently, all healthcare workers have until September 27th to have at least one dose of the vaccine, or else they'll be fired. Health commissioners in 10 counties signed a letter calling on the governor to offer weekly testing to those who aren't vaccinated. Steuben County's Darlene Smith was on that letter and argues that a strict mandate might create a massive labor shortage.
I know the mandate was put in place, it was well-meaning, well-intentioned, but you have to look beyond that at the potential public health crisis this is going to cause.
New York's Department of Health is allowing teachers to test weekly if they choose not to get vaccinated. President Joe Biden visited a local Washington, D.C. school today, getting a first-hand look at how kids are adjusting to being back in the classroom. During the visit, the president spoke about the measures his administration has been taking to keep students and teachers safe.
But I'm calling on all governors to require vaccination for all teachers and staff. Vaccination requirements in schools were nothing new. They work. This isn't a game. And I don't know of any scientist out there in this field that doesn't think it makes considerable sense to do the 6 things I've suggested.
The visit comes a day after the president called on private employers to do more in the fight against COVID-19 and signed an executive order requiring federal workers employed by the executive branch, as well as government contractors, to be vaccinated against the coronavirus. As COVID-19 hospitalization spike, some overwhelmed hospitals are rationing care. Britt Conway explains what that means and where it's already happening.
It's happening around the country. Hospitals are overwhelmed.
This is what people refer to as rationing of health care. And I never as a physician thought we'd be transferring our patients out of state, that we wouldn't be able to take care of our own Nebraskans.
For critical care and ICUs, those beds are saturated.
We're running about 130% above capacity.
Nationwide, more than 101,000 people are in the hospital with COVID-19. With so many hospitals packed, some people who need care for any reason might not get it.
If you come in and have a heart attack and you need an ICU bed, we probably won't have a bed for you.
In the most extreme situations, crisis standards of care would be activated, which is just like it sounds, a substantial change to the level of care because of a crisis, like a pandemic.
It's like we're at a war with this virus.
It's already happened in Idaho, and officials at one Washington hospital worry it could happen there too.
They may decide that we don't have the resources to care for you and your chance of survival is low, so we're not going to ask you if you want to be resuscitated or not. We're just not going to be able to do it.
Which is why you keep hearing the same plea, no matter the place.
Help our hospital systems, help our nurses, help our staff, so that we don't have to call 23 hospitals when it's your loved one that's in the ER that we're trying to find a bed for.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
The NFL kicked off its second season during the COVID-19 pandemic, but this year will be different as the league is expecting stadiums full of fans. And while teams are doing what they can to keep spectators safe, there are some things that fans can do as well. Mandy Gaither reports.
Football is back. From college to the NFL, this year's stadium's expected to be filled despite the COVID-19 pandemic.
I don't think it's smart.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says crowded outdoor games can put people at risk.
I've had my shot and everybody I know have had their shot. I'm encouraging people to get their shot.
Each NFL team has worked to set their own health and safety protocols. Some have no requirements for fans. Others, like these 11 teams, require masks to be worn outdoors and indoors during the game. 3 teams require a negative COVID-19 test or vaccinations for fans 12 and older. The Las Vegas Raiders remain the only team to require fans 12 and above to be vaccinated in order to attend home games.
Outdoors is always better than indoors, but even when you have such a congregate setting of people close together, first you should be vaccinated. And when you do have congregate settings, particularly indoors, you should be wearing a mask.
This week in North Carolina, health officials announced 45% of all COVID-19 clusters in middle and high school since July have been among sports teams. Dr. Fauci said he thinks there will be more vaccination mandates to come.
The rule is going to be if you want to participate, you get vaccinated.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
As the world prepares to mark the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, several U.S. lawmakers are calling on Congress to act. A bipartisan group of responders, survivors, and advocates gathered in New York on Friday. They're urging Congress to pass the 9/11 Responder and Survivor Health Funding Correction Act. The act would ensure adequate funding now and in the future for 9/11 responders and survivors who are injured. Today, New York Democratic senators said those people deserve access to medical treatment. And as the world prepares to mark the 20th anniversary of 9/11, Camila Bernal is in New York with a look at the events that shook America and changed the course of history.
September 11th, 2001. The nation stunned by shocking acts of terror.
We've had a national tragedy.
The Twin Towers, a symbol of American success, reduced to rubble.
You have a second plane into the other tower.
34 minutes later, the Pentagon pierced and in flames. A fourth hijacked plane meant to target Washington, D.C., crashing in a Pennsylvania field after passengers fought back. 2,977 people killed after 19 men hijacked 4 U.S. commercial flights bound for West Coast destinations. Americans left mourning the tragic loss of life and their sense of security. But out of the ashes, collective determination and unity.
God bless America.
A new building, taller than its predecessors, at 1,776 feet, the Freedom Tower, a reminder of the enduring promise and resilience of a nation.
It's 20 years later, but we still feel it so intensely. And this wound will never entirely heal.
And on Saturday, presidents, leaders, and families gathering at One World Trade Center to honor the lives lost.
This is a time to honor my mother and to say her name aloud.
In New York, I'm Camila Bernal.
Closer to home, our Matt Kleindienst is at Elmira College for the commencement ceremony taking place there.
Good evening. It was an emotional morning for students and faculty as they laid nearly 3,000 flags along Park Avenue to commemorate the 20th anniversary of 9/11, each one representing a life lost, including an alumni of Elmira College. At exactly 8:46 this morning, volunteers began planting 2,996 flags in honor of those who died on 9/11. The ceremony brought back a lot of emotion to those who remembered the tragedy like it was yesterday.
Placing each flag, it started to really hit me for each one of these flags. We have lost an American in a tragic way.
It seems like a bunch of flags. But when you realize that these each represent a life, it's overwhelming to see that amount.
Of the nearly 3,000 flags, one of them represents a member of the Elmira College family. Daryl McKinney graduated from the school in 1997 and was working in finance at the World Trade Center on the day of the attack. His flag and permanent plaque outside the gymnasium shows how far the impact of 9/11 reaches local residents.
But so it affected many people in so many ways.
You would see a lot of people being interviewed that were from the city of Elmira that were actually in New York City at the time for a variety of reasons, whether it was school, work, family, but it really showed us how close that we really are as a group and how much of an impact it had on us here locally, both in the city of Elmira and Elmira College.
Elmira will continue its 9/11 commemoration tomorrow with a moment of reflection and a candlelight vigil on campus. Matt Kleindienst, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
Still ahead tonight, we'll check in with weather for the weekend forecast and more.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Hey guys, it's Adam Bowles with your weather. Kim has a night off for this evening. Weather is brought to you in part by William Attar. Let's check out the highs for today. Not too bad and not too shabby. Back into the 70s, even the upper 60s. Lots of sun and feeling fantastic for today. All right, so the forecast low for tonight is kind of on the chilly side. Maybe some upper 40s popping up, but mainly in the lower 50s for the forecast low for tonight. Mainly clear, and watch out for some patchy fog driving overnight into the very early morning hours as well. Drive on low beams with that patchy fog. Wake up weather for your Saturday morning, very chilly, maybe some upper 40s popping up in some spots, so grab that light jacket as well. Patchy fog, very cool conditions, starting off in the lower 50s and then back into the upper 50s and even the lower 60s for the morning, and then getting kind of on the warm side for the afternoon hours. So here's a forecast map for your Saturday. All the warm air is way to the west of us. High pressure is building, kicking out all that added moisture and rain chances. So this weekend will be kind of on the mostly dry side and feeling very nice outside as well for this weekend. Let's take a look at future radar starting on Saturday. Keep it mostly dry due to that high pressure, kicking out most of the moisture and added rain chances. We may have to dodge an isolated shower possible as we head to your Sunday, mainly off towards the north of us. You can see green specks here and there, way to the north of New York, but looking mostly dry for most of New York as well. And then by Monday and Tuesday, we do have to introduce that stray shower chance, but still mainly on the dry side until we get to at least Wednesday. But here's your 7-day starting on Saturday. Fog in the morning, so watch out for that. Partly sunny, lots of sunshine for Saturday and Sunday. Maybe about a 20% rain chance on your Sunday, but very nice. 77 degrees, a nice temperature. A little bit warmer on your Sunday, hitting 82 degrees. Back into the upper 70s on Monday, mostly cloudy. And then by Tuesday and Wednesday, we do have a stray shower chance every single day, but temperature still keeping around the average of the upper 70s and lower 80s every single day. And then we introduce that stray shower chance every single day, starting at least on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but still mainly dry for the rest of the week.
A California elementary school believes that cutting down the time that students spend at lunch will also cut their chance of getting COVID. Their creative solution is already working, with fewer kids being sent home to quarantine. Wayne Friedman explains how it works.
For all the ways that COVID has changed our lives, here's one you may not have seen coming: a rush for the daily school lunch.
Good job. Spread yourselves out.
That is Susan Yakic, the principal at Mattie Washburn Elementary School in Windsor, where, as the kids grab lunch, they also prepare for a race against time. It's an adaptation prompted by a day last month when 2 COVID exposures forced them to close down an entire grade level.
It just seemed irresponsible for us to not address it. It's a lot of students out, and it's very difficult to learn from home.
So beginning yesterday, from the time students sit down until they leave, they now get a grand total of 14 minutes in which to remove their masks and eat.
So you might wonder why 14 minutes seems like an odd number, but actually there's a reason for it, because state guidelines mandate full quarantines after an exposure at 15 minutes. 14 minutes gives them 1 minute to spare.
By doing this for 14 minutes, we can accurately say to the Department of Public Health, we know our students have not been unmasked and within 6 feet close contact for more than 15 minutes.
By then, the district had already determined that lunchtime poses the greatest risk of infection. They still treat it that way. Every child has an assigned seat as noted by pieces of tape, so they know who sits next to who. Since doing that alone, quarantine rates have dropped from those 317 kids on that one day last month to just 7 students today. Peter Sullivan runs COVID mitigation for the district.
We can go from a full quarantine to a modified quarantine, keeping our kids in school.
It's a simple solution to a complex problem by working within the system. A new definition for power lunching in elementary school.
Delta Airlines says it's seen a jump in employees getting the COVID-19 vaccine. 2 weeks ago, the airline announced a $200 monthly fee on healthcare plans for unvaccinated employees. Since then, 20% of the 20,000 unvaccinated employees have gotten the shot. Delta says 78% of its staff is now vaccinated. That's up 4% from 2 weeks ago. A teacher in Missouri has resigned after he says the school district ordered him to remove a pride flag from his classroom. Bronte Sorotsky has the details.
John Wallace was looking forward to his first year teaching at Neosho Junior High School and wanted to make his classroom an inclusive space for all of his students. After asking school administration if he could display a pride flag and sign saying "In this classroom, all are welcome," he says he was advised not to.
But I ultimately decided to put the signs up above my whiteboard, and I had a small pride flag on my bookshelf.
When parents found out, they complained to the school superintendent, and Wallace was advised to sign a letter stating he would take down the pride flag and the sign in the classroom.
I was asked to sign a letter that said I would not talk about human sexuality or my sexual preference in the classroom. It was a representation that my classroom is a safe place for students.
That was the last straw. He turned in his resignation the following morning.
For this to happen was already upsetting enough because I have seen how this community responds to things like that, but I thought we had been able to move past this.
The news was hard for many. One of Wallace's students was a member of the LGBTQ community. Her mother says she was excited to finally have someone to relate to.
She's devastated. She doesn't feel like she has anybody that she can go to. It made her more comfortable, I guess, to be herself, especially in the classroom.
After Wallace posted the news on Facebook, the support poured in from students, parents, and others.
He's a teacher, and I feel really bad that he was treated that way because he was always welcoming, and he would do anything for anybody, even if it was a million steps out of his way.
And it would have meant the world to me to have a teacher in this district who was open, who was out, and who could show students that I'm not some scary, unnatural person that you've been taught to be scared of. I am me. I am normal. I just happen to love differently.
California's Dixie Fire has been burning for just over 8 weeks. That's a long time for firefighters and emergency crews. But this week, those men and women got a welcome distraction thanks to man's best friend. Brett Forrest has more.
For emergency crews working the Dixie Fire, some positively welcome visitors at the fire camp on Tuesday.
Everybody loves dogs, everybody loves animals, and fire camps can be stressful. And just being able to think about your dogs that are at home and just to come play with something, you know, it's awesome.
Man's and woman's best friends, bringing some smiles and cheers to a tough job.
I've never been to a fire camp that had the dogs come before, so that was a real treat when someone said there were dogs here. I was like, where? You know, and I came and took off running.
Working long shifts away from families for weeks at a time, saying it's a good opportunity to step back from the fire and take time for themselves.
Just check in with yourself. It's so important, and this is a good excuse to do that. It makes being away from our families easier.
The group, Pause for Love, driving to Quincy from Reno, giving these firefighters pause for reflection. And pause, well, because of the dogs.
The connection the dog has with someone that needs, someone in need is just absolutely incredible.
Knowing these crews can have some rough days, hoping these dogs can make them a little nicer.
I think our biggest hope is just maybe making the stay here for these guys just a little, or those firefighters, a little more bearable, just having some furry love, you know, a little bit of normalcy, having a dog that you can touch, you can hug, you can lay on.
Facebook is expanding its vision with new smart glasses. The social media giant is teaming up with Ray-Ban for Ray-Ban Stories. These new smart glasses can answer phone calls, listen to music, take photos, and record up to 30 seconds of video. They come equipped with Facebook Assistant voice commands and built-in open-ear speakers. The smart glasses pair with the new Facebook View app, so you can directly share photos and videos on sites like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat. They cost $299 and come in 20 different styles. It's a big advance in the robotic vacuum cleaner that took years of research. And now the new Roomba has learned how to avoid any pet surprises left on the floor. Jeannie Mose has the scoop.
It's a robot vacuum cleaner's nightmare.
Hey, accidents happen.
But who wants to run over an accident? This diagram was how one puppy owner portrayed the poop-tastrophe that befell his home when his Roomba ran over his pup Evie's accident, resulting in a home that closely resembles a Jackson Pollock poop painting. But now, iRobot's new Roomba solves the poopocalypse problem. The Roomba is now able
To both identify and avoid. Number 2.
Oh sure, it can also now recognize and avoid things like cords, but training the Roomba to ID pet waste was harder.
We built over 100 physical models of poop. We trained our algorithms on over 100,000 images.
Employees used Play-Doh to make reproductions.
Everyone with a dog at iRobot has been asked to take pictures of the pet waste.
From Roomba's angle, so the robot would learn what to avoid. They considered other methods like smell detection, but computer vision was what worked. The J7 Plus sells for from $650 to $850. It is backed by the Pet Owner Official Promise, acronym POOP. iRobot will replace any Roomba J7 Plus that doesn't avoid solid pet waste. What the company's CEO tries to avoid is being too earthy, describing the breakthrough.
Interacting with your dog's number 2. Avoiding presence from your pet. Now tell me again about that poop avoidance thing.
When it comes to making a mess, it's almost as if the Roomba itself has been housebroken.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. An artist in Omaha, Nebraska is giving dead trees new life by carving them into art. Take a look at this. Passers-by can't get enough of what 48-year-old Fritz Hand carved out of what remained of a dying 100-year-old tree. Hand is a lifelong artist who has been working with chainsaw art for the last few years. He was looking to branch out into larger projects when he got the idea of working on fallen and damaged trees during a walk around his neighborhood. Hand is always on the lookout for his next tree to turn into art. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.